Get a close-up on this bad boy as it comes in here. You're going to do the job, my friend. You're going to have a tale to tell when you go home. Koenigsteiger kill from the off-map monoplane. Here it comes. Koenigsteiger kill. 3, 2, 1. It worked. It worked. It actually worked. I was doing it for the memes. Oh my days. Hello everybody, I am Alpha Bird. Welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today. We're looking at the battle group after action report of war for Toulon. And the dog is here as well to welcome you along. For the we're going to start things off with the deck preview. We're going to look at some games. We're going to then see the final deck, a scoring and a comparison against the decks that have gone before. And I'm sure there'll be some featured matches in follow-up videos. So, Verteidigungsbereich Toulon, or Defense Perimeter Toulon, one of the new DLC divisions from the Storming Toulon DLC. We're going to play this one on balanced income. I feel like balanced income might be the best in this scenario. I've not played with this division outside of early access, so I've had a few games, but I feel like balanced is probably the best picture for this due to the number of the flat guns. And we're going to try and use our strength in the year in this battle group AAR. That's the plan. We're going to focus on a bit more of an air strength game. I'm not the best with my air force. I'm not the best at being a kind of airborne type player. I'm much better on the ground, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm going to play to that kind of theme today. We've got a lot of anti-air assets, a lot of good air assets as well, so let's go for it. Into the Recon tab, we're going to start things off with the sharpshoots. We've got them in the BMW motorcycles. They're only 10 points. They're going to rush into the battlefield and try and pick up some early snipes, help defend things. Then we've got the MEKs. Brand new unit, a sniper team. They've got special MP40s with like a silenced kind of barrel attachment, so they create less noise when they fire them off, but that's kind of counteracted by the fact that they've got a sniper rifle as well that's clearly going to reveal their position at 1,000 meters. They can fight close up though with the 2 frag grenades. The sniper's going to help out in the long range battles. They're a recon unit, they're a radio unit. I don't think they have smoke. I think that's a bit of an error that's not been fixed yet. And I've paired them with the Laffy 5-15 or V-15T for a pretty decent machine gun. Kind of surprising it's not an oh, it's a captured French. I assume that's a captured French vehicle if it's a captured French machine gun on it. Didn't actually know that. But yeah, this thing's unarmored, so it could go down quite easily. But then it is a decent machine gun. I presume that's a Hotchkiss if it's actually a captured French machine gun. So we'll pair them with that. We'll see how it goes. The other options, we're out of traction vehicles and we're taking them in B phase anyway, so we don't really need a rush. We could slip them in the Cubles, but I think we'll go with the Laffy for 10 points. We'll see how they fare with the Laffy vehicle. It might help out. And I believe it is a Recon. Yeah, it does have Recon optics on that vehicle. So you can kind of pair it as a Recon vehicle to try and reveal some enemy infantry. Speaking of infantry, into the infantry tab. So, we're on balanced income. I want to start things off cheap. Get as much onto the field as possible, and then we'll progress through to our more expensive infantry. That is the plan today. So we've also got a large amount of infantry AT in this division, so I'm going to take full advantage of that, and almost every card has some kind of infantry AT on it. We're going to kick things off with 2 cards of Panzer Grenadiers with the Panzerfaust. I'm picking these because they're 20 points. I'm picking these for the Panzerfaust. They also have an MG34, which is strong. The LMGs are strong. We're then going to bring in the Kriegsmarine Marine Infantry. They don't have as good a loadout, but they do have the AT grenade, and they are still 20 points, so they're cheap. And that should be enough infantry for A phase. Oh wait, sorry, I've missed out the Sekirungs as well. I'm bringing those because they have the anti-tank rifle, and again, they're 20 points. So the AT rifle will help out against half tracks and kind of recon rushers onto my infantry, and they're 20 points. There's a theme here, they're all 20 points. And then finally, I've got some leaders in A phase, but they aren't the cheap leaders, they're the expensive leaders. We've got a KM Führer at 30 points apiece. I've picked these because they get 2 MG34s, and you don't really get MG34s on leaders. They're high strength for a leader unit with 8 men. They do have the smoke grenades, but really it's about the high strength and the MG34s. They're basically fighting infantry, really, especially at long range. I mean, if these things engage at 750 meters, they're like equivalent to a Panzergren squad. So although you are paying for it, you know, it's giving you a leader that can fight like an infantry unit. So that's kind of why I've gone for that approach. The downside, we've only got 2 of these in A phase, so we do have to kind of use them in the correct places. I think the couple of units that I haven't taken that I kind of would like to have taken, the KM Landeschützen and the Ostlegionnaire actually performed really well when I did my early access look, but I just think they're outshined by the other 20-point infantry, and they don't have the AT equipment. We've got loads of AT equipment in the division, so let's just prevent the enemy tanks from getting close unless they want to get sniped by basically every single infantry, at least in A phase, into B phase as well. Other infantry we've not chosen, the Brandenburgers, commando engineer squads, great uniforms on them. I really do like this infantry unit. I think if I used my extra slot, I would have put this in, you know, for the theme. We don't have these in other divisions, so it's a kind of shame that I haven't really used them. They are 2 stars with 3 vet, and they are really good as well. I mean, maybe we could replace the Kriegsmarine Marine Infantry in B phase and go with an all-out kind of experienced and unique infantry team in B and C phase. I'm going to stick with the Kriegsmarine Marine Infantry for now. The reason I'm choosing these, they are kind of unique as well, so we do have that unique aspect, although I've got them in A phase. I'm choosing them because they're cheap, and in B phase, we're still going to be under the cosh. We're still going to be under severe attack from Vanguard and Maverick players. So having cheap infantry to relieve pressure on the battlefield is going to be, I think, key at this point. If we do okay with the division, I might slip the Brandenburgers in there in B phase and try and see whether I can get away with that, especially if we haven't used all of our A phase infantry up. The other unit I've got in there in B phase is the Kriegsmarine Bootbesatzung, the submarine crews. I'm putting these in for the 3 MG34s. I'm hearing some chatter that actually 35 points might be too expensive for this unit, and it's not performing as a 35-point infantry unit should perform. But honestly, this is probably one of the most unique units in the division, and it did really well for me in the first look video, so I'm going to put it in here again. 3 MG34s I don't think is to be overlooked, so we will see how they fare in the action. And then finally, my favorite unit from the early access video, the Maro, the Italian Marine Infantry, the Maro, with 12 Berettas and 3 Molotov cocktails. I'm hearing these are manically strong, excessively strong, and they could get nerfed very soon. The Beretta's really strong, and paired with the Molotov cocktail, just extra strong on top of strong. If you like your hot saucers, this is like the Carolina Reaper hot saucers, the hottest of the hot sauce that you can get. The Maro Infantry. I've got these in C phase, double vetted, just to pour on the extra hotness, and we're going to try and just push back with these Maro Infantry. The difficulty we're going to have, these aren't close long range fighting infantry, so we're going to have to go close range to get the kills with them. But in C phase, I think I can do that. I think I can get supporting infantry onto the field, and these guys are really just to engage in hand-to-hand CQC fighting with the enemy and just destroy whatever's there. That is the plan. The KM Boots Besatzung, I actually would have put in C phase if I had access to have them in C phase and kind of had these as the long range and the Maro as the short range. But they're going to be in B phase early on. I'm planning to use my Kriegsmarine Marine Infantry before I get to the KM Boot Besatzung. So they are kind of more like a C phase infantry than a B phase infantry. Into the tank tab. Just one card, Stug 3G, A phase, 5 of them, no vet for the extra amount. I mean, you could go to 2 vet and go for 3, just to make sure your Stugs actually perform. Bearing in mind, we've only got 5 really, so it's a possibility, but I'm going to go for 5. The option is to put in the Stug 3G Führer, but it's a 2-point slot and you only get 2 vehicles, so I'm kind of trying to be a bit more card efficient and going to use those points elsewhere. You could use the Panzer 39Hs and the Panzer 35Rs, but you got to remember these are really infantry, anti-infantry tanks. They're not even fantastic at anti-infantry. They're not anti-tank tanks. They're not really main battle tanks. They're kind of early war anti-infantry tanks, so we're not going to take them on this occasion. Even though they are unique, they're just two pants, really. 2 pants for 1v1. Into the support. Surprise inclusion. The 50mm mortars here, you can get them in the traction vehicles, so I'm going to experiment. I'm going to try these 50mm mortars. They're only 15 points, so we can get them out quite cheaply, and I'm hoping they're going to support my A-phase infantry. They can rush forward with the traction vehicles, get into hopefully some nice spots. We'll see how these 50mm mortar goes. My other choice I think I was looking at was the Kriegsmarine MG08. I wanted to add a bit of flavour in. They can also come in the traction vehicles. I wanted to add a bit of flavour in, so I was kind of ignoring the MG34 because we get the MG42 as a kind of main fighting HMG. So I was looking at the Kriegsmarine MG08, but I didn't like the fact they had the normal uniforms and not the Kriegsmarine uniform. I think actually that might be an error on Eugene's part, so I've raised it in the bug channel for them, and instead we chose to go with the 50mm mortars because I thought this is a perfect time to experiment with this unit. There's not going to be many divisions where we really consider a 50mm mortar, so the fact that I was considering it, I thought I'd take it. I guess the other unit as well we could have looked at was the Yugoslavian 285 75mm, but in the end, I decided not to take it. You couldn't bring in the traction vehicles with it. And at 1,500 meters on the HE shell, it can get taken out by enemy units much more easily. Like MG42s at 1,250 meter range, and even Maxims at 1,000. Yeah, this has got 1,500 meter range, but it's not always that perfect. When you're on the battlefield, it's not always perfect. You can get these at 1,500 meters. So they can get taken out by, snipers, HMGs, things like that at closer range than you would initially anticipate. So I decided not to go with them. But again, a bit of a shame that we're leaving a unique unit off the battlefield. We do have the SIG as our main HE infantry gun. This thing fires at 2,000 meters and it has a pretty big bang. It also has the heat shells that can destroy pretty much any tank, but they are restricted to 750 meters now. No longer the 2K heat snipes that there used to be in this game. Paired it with the Laffy S35T transport, just for the unique aspect of bringing this vehicle in. You don't get it in many divisions, so let's bring in the Laffy. And actually it's not that bad when you compare it. 70 kilometers per hour on-road speed actually I think is the fastest of these vehicle choices, so actually optimum performance right now. We've got the BEF Traction as my commander. My other options were the BMW and the Commandant, but you don't get many Traction commanders, so we're going to go for the Traction Commander. We've got our B-Phase Opel Blitz munitions now. I thought about possibly using this in A phase. You'll see why when we hit the artillery tab, but I'll make that comment now and come back to it. Moving our way into the anti-tank tab, we're going to start things off with the Italian pack gun, the PAC 177 47mm. We're pairing with the traction. We're going to get it onto the battlefield as far forwards as possible, and we're taking these bad boys at 2-star for 26 rounds a minute, almost around every 2 seconds, with 62% accuracy. Yeah, the penetration ain't great, but if you can hit the side shots, you're gonna get kills with this thing at 26 rounds a minute. This thing will fire like 3-4 shots before a tank will turn its hull and face frontally. So you get a few side shots. Yeah, you probably get 3 side shots with this AT gun. So you are likely to get a side shot kill. And the tanks early on that this thing is going to be facing aren't going to be the big heavy tanks. They're going to be Panzer IVs, they're going to be T-34s, they're going to be, you know, Marders, they're going to be like Recon vehicles, half tracks. So I think this thing can do the job, and I'm really hopeful for it. We're going to also put in the PAC 36R 76.2mm. This is actually an F22 gun. So in my early access video, I wasn't sure whether this was a ZIS-2 gun, was it a ZIS-3 gun? Couldn't make my mind up. It turns out it's an F22 gun from the artillery tab. So there you go. Although I do think it has a muzzle brake added onto it. Somebody pointed that out in the comments. I think it might have been Rooster. Not 100% sure, but it usually is Rooster. He's got mental knowledge, mental historical knowledge. So yeah, it probably was Rooster. 76.2, and shout out to Rooster, there you go. But how many times can I mention Rooster's name in one video? Join the channel, members, you might get mentioned just like Rooster. 76.2mm. We're taking this at 2-star. I've got the PAC 177 Italian short-range anti-tank guns, you know, light AT guns for those light vehicles. So the idea is that this PAC 36 is going to be for the heavier vehicles at 130mm of penetration. This thing should be a pretty good beast versus German vehicles in mirror matches. It should struggle a bit more against Russian vehicles. The T-34 it should be okay against. The T-34-85 it won't perform as well. The Sherman it won't perform as well. Valentine it won't perform as well. So really the aim is for T-34s and German tanks, really all the way up to a Tiger is where the kind of armor starts to get too good. Even a Stug 3G armor should go down to the PAC 36R, and it does fire at 1,500 meters. So I mean there is going to be some drop off at that range, but you're probably looking at like 100 mils pen. I don't actually know. There are details out there on spreadsheets that will tell you the exact pen. I'm not really the kind of player that can invest time and really even wants to invest time to work out the exact pen at 1,500 meters. But I reckon it's probably about 100mm. And Panzer IV-H, I think frontal armor is 75mm. So you can pop Panzer IVs with this. So I think this could be a good unit. I think this is a sleeper unit. People will overlook this because of the price. But at 2 stars, 50% accuracy, 10 rounds a minute, I reckon this could be a sleeper unit. We got the standard Maro one in here, A phase. 4 of them. I haven't up-vetted this time because you only get 1 card, so I want all of these out, and we're lacking on vehicles. Remember, I've only got 1 card of Stugs in the tank tab, so the Maro one's really my other kind of vehicle choice. It's got the PAC 40 on, we've talked about it before. This definitely can perform. I'm looking for it to pick up value trades. We'll see how this thing goes. We've got the PAC 40 in B phase. I'm taking these at no star. I thought about vetting them, but the vet curve isn't great on the PAC 40s. So I'm taking 5 of them. We are going to be defensive in A and B phase, so I do see my anti-tank guns as having a much more vital role than we had in the recent 3rd Guards mechanized AAR, when we were definitely going, you know, we were going Maverick, we were going attacking. So the AT gun's a pretty defensive weapon. We're going to use it in a defensive battle group, really. Now, I've left out the PAC 43-88mm. The reason for that is the anti-air tab has plenty of Flak guns that can perform pretty much the same role as the PAC 43-88mm. And, you know, for a 3-point slot for a unit that is already kind of the job that it's going to do is already covered in my anti-air tab, I decided to leave it out. There is the option that we might put that back in depending on how we perform, whether we need more heavy AT guns. It could go back in the deck. If it does, it'll probably go in B phase and the PAC 40 may slip into A phase. The reason I chose this in B phase and not A phase is because I've got the Pak 36R. So I've got light AT gun with the Italian, I've got heavy AT gun in A phase with the Russian, and then I've got heavy AT gun in B phase, or all-round AT gun in B phase with the Pak 40. Anti-air tab, we're going to start things off. We'll look at my actual AA, and then we'll look at my hybrid AA/AT. So my actual AA is the Flak 38 20 mils in A phase. Now, I think you know by now, I like 20 mils. I just think, yeah, they don't perform magically. They're not perfect, but I just like how cheap they are at 40 points to get some AA onto the battlefield. There are going to be future AARs that I don't pick 20 mils, especially the German divisions. So I was in this slightly weary of picking these 20 mils because I was like, I keep picking 20 mils. I want to add some flavor. I want to make it a bit more unique. I don't want to do the same thing all the time. And there are some great options in here. Although the Flakzwilling 37 mil, when I say great options, they're all really expensive. So my flaks are cheap. And that, I think that's the kind of reason I kept these in the deck this time. What I was saying, the Flakzwilling 37 mil is not quite performing as good as a single 37 mil. I don't think you didn't quite have the card tuned right, and I think the Flakzwilling for 120 points is outshined by the Flakzwilling for 110 points. So if you want my advice right now, as of release date of Storming Toulon, I picked the Flakzwilling over the Flakzwilling. I think the Flakzwilling could get buffed either in price or performance. I just don't think it's the equivalent of having two 37 mils right now. At least that's what I'm hearing, and that's what I've seen in performance. It can still do the job. Don't get me wrong, it can still do the job. But I think if you're talking about pure, min-max in performance on a 1v1 level, I'd probably leave the Flakzwilling behind. And we're going to do that. It's a bit of a shame, but we have so much expensive AT, and there's expensive AT that we really need as well. And there's also some unique units. So you can't put everything in the deck, can you? You can't put everything in the deck. Going back to the 3820s, we're taking them at 2 stars to try and get as much performance as possible. It's not like I need loads of these because we have loads of AA in this division. I just need enough to get me through A phase is kind of what I want to do with this unit. I want to make them cheap. They're just for A phase, so I've upvetted them to 2 stars. And 2-star 20 mils are still pretty good. So we'll hopefully with 4 of these 2-star 20 mils, we can keep some early planes at bay. And playing against this division, I guess I'm going to be playing this in quick play and ranked games, so my opponent is going to have a choice. But if they did see you playing too long, they're probably not likely to pick an airborne deck because they know they're going to get hard countered by such a heavy AA division. Second card in the AA division, in the AA division, in the AA tab, we have the Flak 36 French 75 mil. So I think this was the main competitor to the Flakzwilling, really. I was deciding between these two units as kind of my heavier A phase gun, and I decided to go for the Flak gun for the French 75 mil. I think it was slightly cheaper, so that definitely helped. And I have some A phase anti-air with the Flak 3820, so I didn't need loads of these, so I decided to upvet it to 1 star and have this as like my big AA piece early on into the game. I think it's going to be a good AA piece. We're going to sit this one behind the lines. I don't really want to get this thing in trouble. It can use its HE shells at 1,500 meters, but I don't want to get this into 1,500 meter range. I could bring the Flak 41 into A phase and just go with one of them, and then bring the Flak 38s into B phase, and then lower the veterancy on to get more of them. But I've decided to go for this kind of increased veterancy curve and bring in the Flak M36F. There are much more efficient ways of doing this, and if you are playing a 1v1 deck, then I think this division, although you get loads of AA choices, you can really be efficient with your card slots. These Flak guns are really good at no star, at 0 vet, so it's not necessary to up vet them. You can get a hell of a lot of them. I mean, you can get 4 Flak 41s 88 mils at no vet and B phase. That will do you for the whole game in 1v1. I think the availability of these guns, I personally would reduce the availability of the Flak 41 88mm. I think that's my own opinion, but for 1v1, I just think you can get too many. I mean, 2 in A phase to me, I think is a bit too many. I think you should go 1, 2, 4. That's kind of my opinion, but I'm not saying it's a right opinion. I'm just giving you my opinion. So, I think we are going to talk about these now. We're going to go with the B-Phase Flak 41 88mm. I have up-vetted them, as I've said, because I don't need huge numbers in 1v1, and you can get 19 rounds a minute on this thing. That's pretty fast for something that... Well, actually, that's for the anti-air roll. On the AP roll, it's 11 rounds a minute. But at 160 mils a pen, 11 rounds a minute, is pretty good. It is pretty darn good. And then we've got the Flak 41s in C phase. The reason I've done it this way round, I'm on balanced income, so I'm trying to put my cheaper units before my expensive units. C phase is where I've got my full income, so I can afford one of these per tick every minute in C phase. That's the plan. We're going to get into C phase. We're going to get up the Flak 38 105s. We're going to shut off the skies. We're going to then bring in our bombers, and also these guys can, you know, do the AT roll as well. And we're just going to bring death from above. Hopefully. So yeah, the Flak 41 in C phase, that's the plan. These guys will fire at 14 rounds a minute at 1 star, 2,000 meters with 205 millimeters of pen. That is pretty good. So if we do make it to C phase and I am able to afford these more expensive units, I see these as the backbone of my division. And really, Toulon, they should be the backbone of the division. That is kind of what it's all about, these heavy AA guns. That's kind of one of the massive things about this division. Into the artillery tab, this is another strong area for the division, so we've opted to make it strong as well. You could be a lot more efficient if you're going for min-max 1v1 play, but I'm not doing that. We've chosen the GEB 316 Italian 100mm. So if you're going for pure artillery performance, this is the worst artillery unit. I saw some stats from someone posted on Reddit the other day. They compared the dispersion for the guns, and the GEB out of these 4 guns was the worst. I think it went something like GEB, and then I don't know which one it was between the 317 and the 331, and then the SK18 was the best out of all these 4 guns. That's what I think the conclusion was. I'm not 100% sure. The post is on Reddit if you want to try and check it out. It'll be in there somewhere. And if you're desperate for it and you can't find it, drop it down in the comments and I'll try and find the link and post it for you. I've paired this with the cool artillery truck. I mean, it's definitely not a cool artillery truck, but it sort of is a cool artillery truck as well. It's such a unique unit. I just had to put it in, and it is a British unit apparently. It's developed by Vickers, although it was actually captured by the Germans from Belgium, who licensed the unit, I think, from Vickers in the UK. So it is actually a UK sort of born unit, although this was officially a Belgium unit. Hopefully that's made sense. I've put it in here because it's so unique. The problem with it is it's really slow. So I decided to put it with my artillery unit. At one point, I think I had it on my AA, and I was because I really wanted to use it because it was unique. And I wanted to see it out on the battlefield and see at least somebody using it, because, you know, Eugen made the model, so somebody's got to use it. Otherwise, I feel bad for Eugen pouring time and resources into making the model if no one uses it. We've paired it with the artillery unit. It's not like we need these guys to be on the front lines immediately, so we can afford to have a bit of a slower transport. Anyway, I think I never said why I actually picked the GEB 316. I picked it for the smoke. I just thought I was going to choose the Yugoslavian gun, the 317, because it's unique. I didn't want to choose the SK18 because you get that in a lot of divisions. I didn't want to choose the K331 because it was the French gun, and we've just played, and I've just given a French gun favourite unit of the week. So I was going to go for the Yugoslavian because it is actually a better firing artillery piece than the GEB, but I decided to choose the GEB because it's got smoke, and I thought there's probably going to be some occasions where I want some smoke, so that's what I've decided to do. We're then going to go for the off maps, A phase and B phase off map. We're playing on balanced income, so we're going to need our off maps to delay the enemy. And I've just noticed these recon planes actually have, or artillery observer planes, that are monoplanes and not biplanes. Out there for anyone that listens too much to my commentary and believes that I have ultimate historical knowledge. Certainly not. These are monoplanes, not biplanes. I got told off for calling them biplanes. The recon artillery observers, they do actually have HE bombs on them, and they're pretty accurate from what I remember of these kinds of planes. The biplanes that use them are pretty accurate. So I'm sure these ones are as well. So you can use them in that role, just so you're aware. I've gone for obviously the lighter vehicle in A phase. I don't think you can get the heavy version in B phase. We'll come on to it in a moment. 138mm guns. They're actually really good. The downside to this is it's a plane off map, so it can get shot down really easily. But we just need kind of one of these worst case scenario to delay an enemy attack, and then we can bring out a B phase version as well. The other reason for having these 40 mils in was to pair with this artillery observer. I think if my artillery was kind of ground-based artillery, I might not have gone for the Flak 38 20 mils, but I need some decent artillery, some decent AA, because you know I'm going to bring this in early on in A phase, and you know when I bring this in, the enemy is definitely going to order a fighter in, so you might as well have AA ready, not only to try and protect this thing against the enemy fighter, but also so that you can then try and shoot down the enemy fighter and pick up some value as a balanced player. So this is also one of the reasons why I decided to go for that 20 mil in A phase. We're going to skip the Battery Führer. It's a Battery Führer. It's my B phase infantry leaders, really. And then we're going to go to the off-map that's in B phase. This is the bigger variant, and if you saw my first look videos, this off-map is absolutely amazing. It's fantastic. It's huge. So if you've not used it yet, definitely get it in your deck. Definitely use it. It looks so good when it goes off. So much fun. So much explosions. Death and destruction everywhere. It's really good. So we're picking this in B phase. You can only get it in B phase. You can only get one of them in B phase. We don't need it in C phase. This is not an off-map where we're going to use it to push back. We've got lots of artillery to do that. We've got lots of other options. We've got bombers as well to do that. This is all about delaying any B phase push that the enemy tries to make and try and cement a defensive line into C phase. Finally, we've got some C phase artillery. I was torn between the Italian FH-404 and the Russian captured ML-20. Now, in terms of performance, if you're talking about counter battery and long-range artillery usage, the ML-20 is the best actual artillery piece in this lineup of all of the artillery pieces. But the FH has smoke, and it's a bit more unique than the ML-20, because although the ML-20 is a captured Russian gun, which makes it sort of unique, it is also in all of the Soviet divisions. Whereas, as far as I'm aware, the SFH-404 captured Italian 149mm isn't actually in any other division. It probably will be soon when the Italian DLC releases. This is probably one of the early models that Eugene got done. But for now, it's completely unique, so let's get it in there. The other thing, they have smoke and they have heat shells. Although they can only fire at 750 meters, they can pretty much slap down any tank that you put in front of them, bar a King Tiger, I would say. An IS-2 might be a little bit harder to pen, but it's still going to do the job. It's not going to lose penetration at range, although the range is tiny anyway. So it can slap down any tank if you need it, but if you're going to get into that situation, you're in dire straits anyway, because why is a 110-point howitzer on the front line in C phase? They do pair with the multi and mun supply trucks, so yeah, going back to my point about supply trucks, my choice was to bring them in A phase to resupply the Gebs if I needed to resupply them, especially because they have smoke. And I also have multi and muns on my C phase, so I don't really need C phase artillery trucks. In the end, I decided to go for B phase because if my Geb, if I bring in one of my Gebs and I run out of shells, I can just bring in another Geb. Although it's not efficient, it's going to cost me 40 points more than just bringing in an Opal Blitz munitions in B phase. It does allow me to have 2 more trucks than A phase trucks. And I think I'm going to need to refill all of my flat guns I'm going to have to keep these guys up topped up with AP shells, because these are kind of my AT guns in C phase, really. And definitely with the Flak 38 105s, they can go through these 12 rounds of AP shells. I mean, if you look at this, 14 rounds a minute at 1 star, they only got 60 seconds worth of AP shells. So you can run out of them fairly soon. So having the extra supply of chucks in B phase, I think is going to be helpful. I didn't want to wait until C phase because I knew that if I am going to bring a Geb out, I'm going to run out of shells before C phase. But I will probably make it through A phase with 30 HE shells. So I decided to go for B phase in the end. That's the end of the artillery tab. We're on to the air tab. Now, a bit of a change for the air tab. The idea with the deck is to exploit those flat guns. So I've gone for a fairly different air tab than you would probably normally see, and this is definitely not peak performance. I think if you are going for peak performance, the Ju-88s A4s in C phase is definitely the way to go. And someone told me this Spider-Man web on top is actually an early World War II GPS system. I'm not yet to find out the details of that and how it worked, but I would love to find that stuff out because I am kind of into communications a little bit more. So World War II GPS was unique to me. I'd never heard of it before. I know they did all the radio direction finding and radar and all that kind of stuff, but didn't know about kind of GPS style stuff. It obviously wasn't GPS from space, so yeah. Interesting. If you know more details, pop a link in the comments for me and I'll get to reading. But yeah, the Ju-88A4, bringing these in C phase, two 500kg bombs is pretty much peak performance. You can get a lot of these. They're very good resilience. They are going to survive. And remember, you've got tons of flat guns. So if the enemy's bringing in fighters, they aren't going to shoot this thing down as long as you keep your flat guns alive. Big note on that. Counter battery is probably going to be quite important in this division. So if you are going for peak performance, I would suggest the Russian ML20s for that counter battery, because the enemy is going to try and artillery your flat guns. Your flat guns are key. So the main, I wouldn't say the best performing counter is artillery, but the easiest counter to flat guns is artillery. So you're going to want to then counter their artillery with some counter battery. Anyway, I did go off for a moment, but yeah, the Ju-88A4s, it's not like the fighters are going to be too much of a threat, so you can go for max amount of these in C phase, because your flat guns should keep the fighters at bay. So this is going to be my main unit that pushes back the enemy in C phase. That's kind of the plan. A phase, I'm going for my 109 G6U4. I talked earlier about bringing in that artillery observer. Then I'm expecting the enemy to order a fighter, so I've got my Flak 38 guns on the ground, the 20 mils ready for those fighters. And then I'm going to use the BF-109 G6U4 to try and, clear up an early fighter and get the air control away from the enemy early on. We need to establish air control early, and the BF-109 G6U4 is going to do the job for me. It's a 30 mil. It's going to perform pretty much as well as a G6R6. I mean, I guess actually the G6R6 has 3 20 mils. I thought it was only 2 20 mils, but no, it's got 3 20 mils, so effectively 60 mils. Whereas the BF-109 G6U4 has only got one single 30 mil, and actually it doesn't have many rounds on that 30 mil, so you're going to run out of rounds quickly. But it's 110 points, and on balanced income, 110 points is what I have for A phase, so I can bring this out on a single tick, whereas the BF-109 G6R6, I don't have enough points. I'm going to have to save points to get that out, and there's going to be times where I just don't do it. I need to react. I need to bring in an airplane, so I'm choosing the BF-109 G6U4. You could also bring in the BF-109 G6R1 to kind of pair up, again, peak performance with the fighter bomber aspect. I'm not going for peak performance. I'm going to go for a dedicated fighter instead. Bit of a shame we didn't pick the Dornier 217K1, but you only get 4 of these in C phase. I think this plane is odd because you get more Ju-88s. I would definitely pick the Dornier 217K1s, I think, because the Ju-88s are in fact, I'm going to make that change right now. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. It's definitely not going to perform as well. I mean, it's only medium resilience. whereas the JUs are very good resilience. And the bombing loadout, I mean, 2650 kilogram bombs, it's not as good as two 500 kilogram bombs. It's the same price. I see the Dornier as an inferior plane when you compare it to the Ju-88A4. I actually think the Ju-88A4 should just be upped in price. But we're going to bring it in because it's more unique. There's JUs in other planes, whereas the Dornier 217K1, we don't see it in many planes at all. So we're going to bring this one in C phase. We're going to have 4 of them in the deck. Now, B phase, I've actually selected the ME410A3 Recon vehicle, or Recon airplane. Now, a lot of you are going to be like, what the hell is he doing? But it's 35 points. This thing isn't a fighter, okay? It fires behind itself, so it can't fire forwards. So if you order this to try and dogfight with another plane, it will sort of circle and try and kind of get in front of the plane so it can fire behind it. So don't use it that way. This is a pure recon vehicle, right? This is here to do its recon duties, and at 35 points is cheap. I've taken it at 2-star because I reckon it'll be a bit more survival, and I don't think I'm going to need 4 of these. So I have taken it at 2-star. The idea is I've got plenty of flat guns, and this is more of going to be a C phase airplane than a B phase airplane. I can only take it in B phase. I've got plenty of flat guns, right? By C phase, I'm bringing out these Flak 38-105s. I've got loads of them. I'm anticipating I'm going to need to fight back on the ground. I may well be down to like less than 5 minutes on the clock, probably most likely, 1 minute left on the clock, and I'll be desperate to get back a 12 point scale. So if I can use a recon plane to spot where the enemy is, bearing in mind, my air defense should be pretty good at this stage, I think I can do it. That's going to be the plan. I'm going to bring these out in C phase. I'm hoping to use them as actual recon planes, which is really weird, but let's try it. And if there's going to be a division where I can use a recon plane and literally have them circling over the enemy for hours, then this is probably going to be the division. The other thing is, these air artillery observers are also recon planes, so they can do the same job. If you keep these alive, if you use the off map and you keep them alive, you can use them as recon planes. So don't forget that as well. We're going to have loads of air recon, and I'm kind of looking forward to hopefully succeeding in my task of fully utilizing air recon in Steel Division 2. Let's go! Yeah, we need to hammer home this infantry right now.
An dieser Position müssen wir raus. Habe verstanden. Hoch auf dem gelben Wagen. Volltreffer! Sie zerstört!
Feuer bereit.
Get everything up. We need to get everything up ASAP.
Feind in der Nähe. Beschützt die Artillerie.
Königstiger.
Wir wurden getroffen! Hat jemand ein Taxi bestellt?
Ooh, with supporting vehicles. Oh! Big kill! That's a game-winning kill right there. That is a game-winning kill right there. We've got a 15-9 right now. I need to continue this. That fucker doesn't want to fire. The Königstiger's gone down. Double stun kills! Oh my days!
Es hat mich erwischt.
Höre Sie klar und deutlich.
Oh, he's gone. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Double stuck Königstiger kills were impressive. I've made a small change to the division. I'll let you know what it is now. In A phase, I originally had 2 Flak 38-20mm, both at 2 stars. I put it in the deck as it was. And then all of a sudden I kind of realised, I saw the price of the Flakzwilling at 110 points, and I kind of discounted this originally because I was like, well, it's not really that unique, so I'm not going to use a Flakzwilling. I've got lots of unique flat guns, and we want to make this division all about the flat guns. But then all of a sudden I noticed 110 points, and I thought, hang on a minute, I'm unbalanced. Now, normally you can't take a Flakzwilling in an A phase on balance on a single tick because it's 120 points on the vehicle mounted option. But this is the towed variety, so it's 10 points cheaper. And I suddenly thought, hang on, I can actually bring that in on a tick, and it's still a Flakzwilling. So I just thought I'm going to do exactly that. So I decided to remove one of the Flak 38 20mm cards that I had at 2 stars. I decided to put in the Flakzwilling card in A phase, and then I changed the Flak 38 from 2-star to 1-star. So I've gone from 4 2-star Flak 38s to 4 1-star Flak 38s, but with the addition of 2 Flakzwillings. And that's going to make me really strong as AA in A phase. The Flakzwillings are really there for anti-air duties. Okay, and the Flak 38 20mm are now going to shift to ground duties only. I'm going to consider these as like a ground support weapon. Yeah, they can do AA, and that's a bonus. So if the enemy decides to fire planes over the area those Flak 38s are, that's great. But I'm not actually going to use them as AA. I'm going to use the Flakzwilling for that job. I'm going to use the French 75mm as well. Using this, I wouldn't say it's amazing. It's okay. It's more on the underwhelming side than the amazing side, but it's certainly okay. I'm enjoying using the unit. I like it. I'm going to keep it in here at 1 star to have some extra rate of fire. It's not amazing, but it's doing an okay job, so I'm going to leave it in the division. The other card that I'm really interested in changing now is the 50mm mortars. I'm going to leave them in the division for now, but I think I might change them. Initially, I kind of forgot they were in direct fire. I think they just take a little bit too much micro. Like, if you don't have great micro skills, then I don't think this is the card for you. If you do have really good micro skills, then perhaps consider it, because it can fire indirectly. It's just the range is just so tiny that indirect fire is like over a building. It's just such a small range. But I'm gonna try and persist with it and see how we get on. There isn't anything else that kind of lights up my fire. I guess that would give me 3 points actually, which would allow me to bring in the Brandenburgers, who are, you know, cool, unique infantry units. So I think actually I am going to do that. We're going to bring in the Brandenburgers. We're going to use them as... this is an interesting concept, because, yeah, we could take them in B phase, but you only get 4 extra. It's not like it's the most amazing extra amount possible. I think I'm going to use these as A phase, in A phase. I'm not expecting like amazing things from these Brandenburgers. I think the unit card, it's the 2-star veterancy is great. The raider tag is really good. But the loadout is great, but at the same time, it's kind of a mix. It's a bit like a jack of all trades, master of none. You've got the MG42s and the G43s for long range. That's pretty decent, to be fair. 8 weapons at long range, but you'd kind of want maybe a few more G43s. And then you've got the MP40s and the grenades at short range. Now, the grenades are fine as long as you can get them off and you're not being fired upon by flamer units or Molotov cocktails. But the 4 MP40s, it's kind of just not really enough. So this unit to me looks a bit more like a jack of all trades, master of none. But we are going to use them in A phase at 2 stars because we literally have no infantry that can go in the forests. That's one thing I have kind of discovered. We got no infantry going in the forest until C phase with the Maro marine infantry, and apparently these are really strong. I've not actually got to C phase to use them yet. So the Brandenburgers can do that duty, and that's what we're kind of going to reserve them for.
Auf dem Weg.
I'm just going to smoke off my Führer because I reckon he's going to get shot at next. Mod is in position. Should get a side shot. Track's broken. Oh, that's a kill. Whoa. Okay, I guess track's broken means you can't move forwards, not you can't turn. Oh, bailout's enough though.
Adler 1 bereit.
Bailout's enough. That's actually a nice little position there for an Italian pack gun, right onto the crossroads.
Lageinformation.
He's going down.
Jagdpanzer bereit.
Yeah, he didn't even make it.
Fahrzeug einsatzbereit.
Klasse, Ziel zerstört.
Erwarte Anweisungen.
Oh, might do it for the explosions, you
Der
know.
mit dem Feldstecher. Artilleriebeobachter ist unterwegs.
Did lose our BF-109, but the flak guns should protect us here.
Auf erkannten Feind Feuererlaubnis.
Wird schwere Artillerie gebraucht? 300 zulegen. Vorrufen. Feuer. Her mit dem Feldstecher.
Ooh, we might lose. The oh, luckily it's the 138, not the 340.
Mann, war das knapp.
Yeah. The addition of the Flakzwillings, I think, is a really good move on my part. I'm just going to spam in really cheap infantry. And what else could we use? Oh, let's get a recon plane up. That is perfect.
Hauptmann, klar und deutlich.
Hero 2, Feind gesichtet.
It's got a Panzer IV.
Die Gruppe erwartet Ihre Befehle.
Oh, look at the explosions.
Feind in der Nähe. Beschützt die Artillerie.
Auf der Suche nach Beute.
Hoffentlich schießt niemand auf uns.
He's very defensive. Yeah, I guess you are as a new player, aren't you? You're not really going to know
Zur Stelle.
what's coming. I feel bad.
An dieser Position müssen wir raus.
I hate being new players.
Mich hat's erwischt. Fertig machen zum Sprung, wir greifen gleich.
Let's bring in our other two Marders.
Verdammt, es hat mich erwischt.
Los geht's, Männer.
Unten bleiben.
Wollen Sie mitfahren?
I'm going to unload those Grenadiers so they don't get killed.
Wir wurden schwer getroffen. Stehen bereit.
That was kind of a mistake, but still.
Taxi bereit. Wollen Sie mitfahren?
Oh, off map.
Los, weg hier! Bereit für den Transport.
In Bewegung. Macht euch kampfbereit. Volles Schwung.
Oh, nice kills.
Fahrzeug einsatzbereit.
Get out of there. Marder, you've done your job. Let's get another recon unit up.
Bodenstelle. Was steht auf dem Plan?
Wait for it. Let's get a good view. Oh, there it comes.
Gesichtet. Klasse, Ziel zerstört.
Ah.
Verdammt, Sie wurden schwer getroffen.
That's actually a really good view.
Luftkampf ab, haltet mir den Rücken frei.
Let's get a bombing train. Why does that do that?
Auf wen haben Sie es abgesehen? Hero 2, Feind gesichtet. Verdammt, es hat mich erwischt.
Look at Macedonians! Let's go bomb the tiger. Can they turn?
Und ich ebenso.
Turn. Ah!
Verdammt, bleihaltige Luft hier.
Looks like an off map. That was so fun. Oh my days. The fun.
Motor überhitzt. Und ich ebenso. Wie lauten Ihre Befehle?
That was so good. That literally looked like an off map. That was really good. 59, 40 seconds left on the clock. Okay, we are playing the 21st Panzer, balanced income versus balanced income. My plan is to kind of try the open ground. Although with 21st Panzer, they've got heavy tanks, we can try and control the heavy ground with our Flak guns. So that's going to be the plan. That's going to be the plan. So I have the traction as well, so I can definitely get into pretty decent positions. I've not gone overwhelming, over-the-top attack early on. I could have gone for this town with the traction vehicles, but we're both on balanced income, so I don't really need to rush. I just need to control the trades.
Zu Ihren Diensten, Herr Kommandant.
Abmarsch, Männer!
Hauptmann?
And he's going left.
Weder Freund noch Feind, nur lohnende Ziele.
An dieser Position müssen wir raus.
Wo werden wir gebraucht?
So he's going to take that for now. We'll have to...
Taxi bereit.
I wanted my Brandenburgers to kind of protect my good equipment, so that's the plan.
Jawohl.
Feind direkt zur eigener Stellung.
Yeah, the Pack 177 should be really good.
Hört.
Don't want to lose too many forces, so I'm going to unload what I can early.
Hauptmann. An dieser Position müssen wir raus.
I'm going to have to take that compound back. Looks like his slight defense on the right.
Ihre Befehle. Vorsichtig, Männer, der Feind ist in der Nähe.
Neue Aufträge?
Pioneers.
Ansatz zur Stelle.
Let's get the off-map out early.
Allzeit bereit, Kommandant.
Might get shot down here. Shame we haven't got enough for a...
Alte Ausschau nach Angriffszielen.
Hier habt ihr niedergemäht.
Shit, that's going down. No off-map use either.
Arschbacken zusammen. Eier ein.
Oh!
Gelaufen.
God, he got away with that. Panzer 4H. Okay, we got the Stug.
Höre. Verstanden. Aufspüren und
I'll keep that at long range. It's a good start from him. Well, as long as we just trade well, it doesn't matter too much. Okay, I want my Stug to take that Panzer 4. Long range.
Viel eher.
Bereit, Herr Hauptmann.
Okay, here we go. Here's the engagement.
Offizier an Deck.
Yeah. Actually, I think that was a Sekirung's
Wir greifen gleich an.
AT rifle shot there.
Trommelfeuer.
Hat jemand ein Taxi bestellt?
I'm going to get my infantry ready, and then we're going to push back with an off-map. We're going to bring the off-map straight away.
Jawohl.
Seid vorsichtig, Kameraden.
Unsere Artillerie wartet auf Koordinaten. Sanitäter! 300 zulegen. 2 Gruppen. Feuer!
Bereit zum Feuern, Kommandant.
Okay, that could go down to those vehicles, I guess. I might be able to sneak a couple of... I might be able to sneak a Gepard kill there.
Psychologisch, meine Herren. Taxi, dort müssen wir hin.
Einsatzbereit. Wird gemacht.
Ich höre.
I want to get more anti-air up. A Flakzwilling over here would really strengthen me.
Sanitäter!
An SIG as well, I think, would
Haben Sie Zielkoordinaten,
just
Hauptmann?
help with that open ground.
Geht zur Marine, haben Sie gesagt. Das wird ein Spaß, haben Sie gesagt.
Hoch auf dem gelben Wagen.
Ooh, look at this. But my flak guns can take him down. I'm not too worried about that.
Zu Ihrem Dienst,
Yeah.
Herr Kommandant.
Destroyed. Oh, leopard kill. Leopard snipe would be lovely right now.
Los.
Wie immer, keine Gefangenen.
Hat jemand ein Taxi bestellt?
Yeah, we played that really well.
Endlose Steppe, soweit das
I'm
Orgel
gonna
reicht.
leave the Führer down there, and we're gonna start pushing for this on the left.
Bereitschaft erstellen.
I got one more off, Matt. Do you know what I'd love? A couple of smoke units. Let's get them right to the front. Old tank.
Jawohl, Herr Kommandant.
Marder 1. We can engage that at a fairly long range with a Stug. Plus my Pack 177 can do the job. I can move this one forward now as well. Okay. My AA should be pretty decent now. It's not going to stop him on this occasion, but it's starting to warn him. Don't come near.
Jawohl, Herr Kommandant.
Ooh, come on, get the kill. Yes, good work.
Den Arsch ein, Hans!
Zurück. Und
What's the range on that Stug? 1750.
Ah, es hat mich erwischt. Verdammt, es hat mich erwischt.
zurück. Und zwar langsam.
So langsam vermisst man die salzige Seeluft.
Bajonette aufpflanzen. Zweiter Zug einsatzbereit.
Okay, I'm going to bring in a BF 109.
Zu Ihren Diensten, Herr Kommandant.
Jawohl, Herr Kommandant. Flak bereit.
We got the 1311. I'm happy with that. Very happy with that. What vehicle is that? Panzers. Two of them.
Feind gesichtet.
What are they firing at? I still can take a Panzer at long range. I do need more.
Einsatzbereit. Halten Sie uns etwa für einen Panzer?
Wie lautet Ihr Befehl, Hauptmann? An dieser Position müssen wir raus.
Yeah, I need to kill them.
Verdammt, es hat mich erwischt.
Hoffentlich schießt niemand auf uns.
That's fine. I'm actually going to push him forwards.
Wie wäre es mit Trommelfeuer?
Yeah, hold fire on the Pat gun. 79%. That should, oh, no.
Wir wurden getroffen.
Yeah, just what I
Artillerie
thought.
zu Diensten. Ihr habt ihn niedergemäht. Los.
Leopard coming forward. That's going to get sniped. Gepard did go down, but something on my side went down the Stug.
Vorschau. Ziel vernichtet.
Grenade kill.
Geht zur Marine, haben Sie gesagt.
Okay, he's not going to get a second chance.
Spaß, haben Sie gesagt. Sanitäter! Nehmt die Beine in die Hand.
I'll ambush him from the other side.
Wir greifen gleich. Sie bereit.
Okay, where's my arty?
Feind in der Nähe. Beschützt die Artillerie.
Bereit, Herr Hauptmann.
Ziel vernichtet.
Bereit, Herr Hauptmann.
One of them down. Flak gun might go down here though.
Zweiter Zug einsatzbereit. Stellung halten, Soldaten.
Flak gun yeah, finally the Panzer IV's gone down.
Lohnende Ziele.
We're just going to build up forces on that side, I think, and just hold a good 1311. I don't really want to push too hard. He's going to have lots of King Tigers, but I reckon in the long run we can win.
Bajonette aufpflanzen.
I'm going to push you back and I'll push you forwards. Oh, there's a surrender. Yeah, we do. We traded very efficiently there. Kills the Italian PaK 177s. I am always singing their praises. Always singing their praises. And yeah, that's the main one. The Russian PaK gun did come in handy there, but yeah, the PaK 177 did the job. Right, that's the final deck. Really enjoyed playing with this division. It was some great fun. On first glance, the division doesn't look anything special, but I think it's got a pretty unique play style to it. So I definitely enjoyed it. And I think a lot of people, a lot of the write-ups I'm seeing from people who play in the division, it doesn't look special on paper, but it just does turn out into a pretty nice division when you start playing it. I'll go through a couple of the units, let you know what I thought about them. We'll start off with the MEK, pretty special unit. To be honest, in B phase, I didn't bring them out as often as I should have done. I'm not great at remembering to bring out Recon units. I usually have my Recon units in A phase at the start of the game and I'll place them in my starting orders, or I will tend to bring them out in A phase. But then when we get into B phase and C phase, I tend to forget about Recon units. So that's just my play style. You might get a lot more value out of them. But having them in at B phase to start, it did allow me in the games that I did remember to bring them out to perform pretty well. And having more Recon units to bring out spot things was a good thing. They're a pretty cool looking unit. These MP40s actually have like a special suppressor on them, so they make less noise, but at the same time the sniper rifle kind of alerts the enemy to their location anyway, and the HE grenade if it goes off. The Laffy was decent as well. I did like the pairing of the MEK and the Laffy, just to give you extra recon vehicles, because the Laffy is a recon vehicle, but it can also kill stuff with the 13.2 machine gun on the back. The infantry tab, I finally got to use the Maro. It was a few games in before I got to really get to grips with this infantry unit. A lot of people are saying they're really strong and they need nerfing. Now, they were definitely strong, but I was using them in smaller numbers, like 2 or 3 at a time, because I don't have a lot of forest fighting infantry. So these 16 men have got to do the entire forest fighting for me. So I can't really afford to kind of use them in like 4 to 8 at a time, like perhaps another player would do, and then like barrel through the enemy with all the Molotovs and the Berettas going off. 2 or 3 at a time though was definitely doing the job for me. So yeah, they're strong. I don't know, I mean, I like this combination. I think I'd rather the price go up, if I'm honest, and keep the Beretta and the Molotov combination, but maybe increase the price, even 35-40 points. I'd rather have a more expensive Maro with like really great performance than a cheap but less well-performing Maro. I guess they're not really cheap, but you know what I mean. The Brandenburgers as well, we brought these in midway through the deck, and these guys did perform really well. I'm really surprised how well these guys performed. To say we've only got 4 of them in A phase, they held their ground. They held so many flags, these guys. So I've got to say, I preferred the Brandenburgers over the Maro myself. The PaK 36, I wasn't quite sure whether this would perform, and definitely in the kind of strike team, they were discussing the price of this unit before it got released. 50 points is what it's released at, and personally, I found it fine. It definitely did the job. It got enough kills that I wanted it to, so I was really happy with this unit as well. Bringing the Flakzwilling in, A phase, 110 points was a really good decision, and it took me a while to realise the kind of potential of this unit. 110 points. This unit, as far as I'm concerned, as a balanced player, has to be in your A phase deck. If you're not taking this as a balanced player, you're really missing out. That 110 point cost, you can buy it on 1 tick of income. Definitely get this in your deck. The Flak guns, I'm sure you want me to talk about the performance of the Flak guns, but to be honest, yeah, they were great. I mean, it's just they lived up to expectations. What can I say? The Geb 316 artillery piece performed perfectly well. I definitely recommend it. Now, I think at the start I said this is probably the worst artillery unit in terms of dispersion of the ones you get access to, around the 75-80 point range. But for me, the smoke, as a player able to micro smoke and use it as a tactic, I definitely think it's worthwhile. If you do struggle with your micro, then maybe you will drop this unit and pick up a different one, because you know they will perform better as an artillery unit. The smoke though really does give you that versatility. I did pair it with the little artillery vehicle here, and I definitely wouldn't recommend this. I mean, don't do this. If you're looking for performance, don't bring this unit in. But honestly, look at it. It's fantastic. It's a tiny little monster. The off-maps did really well for me, and the off-maps in this division are fantastic. Really love the off-maps. Definitely get these in your divisions, and actually don't forget about the plane as well. I think I say it in one of the games, but the planes can get you kills. These 50-kilogram bombs are accurate as hell. They can get you kills, and they are also a recon plane. So, you know, use it as a recon plane. Wait until you've used both charges of the off maps, but once you have, use it as a recon plane. Go bomb some infantry. You're going to get kills. I mean, the air tab, just before I discuss the air tab as a whole, what I would say is about the Dornier 217K1. These were really quite fun to play with. I wouldn't say they're like the best performing planes, and there's definitely options to replace them with. We'll discuss that in a moment. But when I got all 4 of these out in one go, it was like a mini off-map. It was pretty cool. I mean, how many bombs do you get? It's like 104 bombs. If you've got 4 of these aircraft, you get 104 50-kilogram bombs. And there was quite a lot of times where I was able to get them out, all 4 of them. And it was genuinely just really fun to see all of these Dorniers dropping their 50-kilogram bombs. So I definitely enjoy this. I'm really glad I picked it in my deck. Is it optimal performance? Definitely not. I mean, if you are looking for min-max in performance, then this air tab definitely could do with some work. And what I would say is there were many games where I was able to establish air dominance. And that was the point of the deck, really, to establish air dominance. But there were times where I didn't really have as many planes as I could have used. You know, I've got air dominance. I should take advantage of that. So having just 4 Dorniers in C phase really just wasn't enough. What I think I would do if you're looking to really annoy someone with your air dominance, I would probably take out the ME410 Recons, the Dornier 217s. I wouldn't even bring in the Ju-88A4, which has the 2 500-kilogram bombs. Yeah, this is going to do the damage, but look for availability on these BF-109 fighter bombers. You can get 8 of these 250-kilogram bombers in C phase. You can get 7 of these rocket artillery, these rocket attack helicopters, airplanes in C phase. So, you know, get 2 of those planes in and you've got like 15 BF-109s constantly striking the battlefield in C phase. You could even replace the Focke-Wulf 190 F8. There were a couple of games where having this really did save me. These planes will generally get you a one-shot kill on a lot of tanks. Like most of the mediums, certainly a one-shot kill. I killed T-3485s, one-shot kill, Stugs, one-shot kill. I think going above that to kind of Panthers and Tigers, I'm not quite sure I got one-shot kills on Tigers. You know, you're probably going to take 2 shots, kind of 2 rounds, 2 lots of using the plane is what I mean, 2 attack runs to get the kill. So I personally did enjoy using this plane. I had it in A phase for utility, but you could look for more availability with it. I mean, you could even hold this off to C phase with the BF-109s and just pummel your opponent in C phase with these light fighter aircraft. I mean, that paired with the air control you can get from all the Flak guns, man, that would have been so beautiful to see in the skies. But to play against, I would have been tearing my eyeballs out if that had happened to me. So if only do that if you really hate other people, because honestly it's probably not fun. You got to say as well, it does remove some utility if you do that, having all of those planes in C phase, because I did get some utility from having the Focke-Wulf in A phase, and also the recon planes, the ME410A3 recon planes. I actually did use them in more matches than I thought I would. When I originally put this in, I thought this is just going to be like me theorizing the fact that I could use this plane with my air control dominance from the Flak 38, the control of the skies. Me theorizing, oh, I could get an ME410 recon plane out and just like hover over their lines for ages. It worked. It worked in several games, so it did work. It's probably the most viable deck that I've ever played to have an actual recon plane in your deck. And not just one in A phase. I mean, recon for recon purposes, not just like a recon / fighter plane, like a Spitfire recon. It's really just a fighter plane. It's not a recon. This is a dedicated recon plane. But almost obsolete, because if you do keep a hold of your off-map airplanes, they're both recon planes, so they kind of do the job of the ME410. You certainly don't need 5 recon planes, so maybe that's a good change to make. Just before we go into the deck's scoring, I want to talk about my favourite unit of the division. Now, there were a few good choices here. The Maro, I didn't use it enough, but I definitely enjoyed using them. The off-maps were fantastic, but I kind of feel a bit bad choosing off-maps because at the same time, they're really awesome, but you just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like a favourite unit. Maybe on a different day, I think I would have chosen the off-maps. For me, the one that shines is the PAC 177 Italian AT gun. This thing is just fantastic. I'm absolutely in love with this little Italian PAC gun. Beautiful. Paired with the traction vehicle, you can get this into some beautiful sniping spots. And the key is just to hit tanks in the side armor. Now, I use this thing. I believe I using this on about 33% efficient shot, and that was perfect because this thing's going to fire at 26 rounds a minute. So generally you're going to get like 3 shots in before a tank turns frontally. So if you've got like 33% efficient shot chance, you're basically going to get at least a hit with one of those shots. And into side armor, you can penetrate with 55mm of penetration at around 500 to 1,000 meters. And that's, you want to be using this gun at 1,000 meters. I personally wouldn't try and get closer than 1,000 meters unless I was desperate, because this can go down to infantry fire at the 750 meter range. Also, you've got HMG fire and sniper fire, so you do have to be a little bit careful. These aren't the strongest guns. They've only got a 4 HP strength. They aren't the strongest little things, but man, the value that I got out of these little PAC guns, incredible. So they are definitely my favourite unit for this division, at least in this run through of the division. So looking at the scoring system now, I decided to change things up. There just wasn't enough space between all the divisions, and I felt like as time goes on, we're just going to get more and more divisions in a similar space, and we're not going to have enough gap and spread out between all the divisions. So I decided to change the scoring system. Instead of every tab being out of 5, I've doubled it. Every tab is now out of 10. So 80 points in total for the deck. Let's have a look at the scoring as it stands. So Recon, I've given that 6 points. The sharpshoots and the MEK, and you can take 2 cards of sharpshoots as well, give you plenty of snipers. Snipers are great in Recon. I feel like the activation points are good as well. So I think it's above average, but some of the other units aren't fantastic. So 6 out of 10 I think is a decent score for it. Infantry, I've given it 8 out of 10. The infantry, I was close to kind of giving it 9 or 10 out of 10. I don't feel like there's a lot missing from this infantry tab. You've got loads of 20-point infantry, or you've got more expensive but good infantry. So I actually think this is a really good infantry tab. I settled on 8 out of 10, but it could have been 9 or 10 out of 10. On the other hand, we go to the tank tab, 2 out of 10. You get Stugs, so that's kind of, you do get some tanks, so that's kind of a point, and then you get Stug 3Gs, and they are decent tanks, so that's kind of another point. So 2 out of 10 points for the tank tab. The support tab, 5 out of 10. Average, and I think it is a decent support tab. It's not over the top. You can get loads of machine guns in traction vehicles, so that's good. You've also got access to the SIG-33, which is a good support gun. You've also got the Geb. I think it's a Yugoslavian gun in there. So actually this probably might have even been a 6 out of 10 really, but 5 out of 10 is what I've given it. Anti-tank, 7 out of 10. This was really high on the original scoring. This was 5 out of 5, but we upped it to 10 and we've given it 7 out of 10. The pack guns perform. The Pak 177, my favorite unit, performed really well. The Russian Pak 36R, 50 points. I think it performed. The Marder 1 can perform. The Pak 40 can perform. We didn't take the Pak 43, the 88mm in the anti-tank tab. They all perform. The kind of downside, some of the slot costs are a little bit expensive. You can see the final slots there are 3 and 4 points, so a little bit expensive there, and you only get 1 card of each equipment in the anti-tank tab, so it could have been a bit more generous. So I think 7 out of 10 is a good score for this. Anti-air, 10 out of 10. If there was a division that was going to get 10 out of 10 for anti-air, it would be this division. So not giving it 10 out of 10 kind of is stupid, really. It deserves 10 out of 10. Artillery, also 10 out of 10. I originally put down sort of 8 out of 10, and then I was thinking, what else do I want from this artillery tab? And the slots are good. You can see I barely used another 2-point slot. You get more slots available. The other equipment in the artillery tab is good. It's got everything you kind of need. So 10 out of 10. I think it's a 10 out of 10 artillery slot. Air. I've given this 6 out of 10. This is a decent air tab, but the slot costs are a little expensive, and some of the planes aren't fantastic. I mean, if you're min-maxing performance, the ME410A3, you know, it's not amazing. The Dornier that I've got in there isn't amazing. There are better plane tabs out there, but I think this is just above average as a plane tab, so 6 points. In total, 54 points for the division. And in terms of my fun rating, 5 out of 5. This was a really fun experience. I loved the infantry, I loved the AT guns, I love the anti-air guns, I loved using a recon plane, I love the off map. I just loved everything about playing this division. It was just really fun, and I think it's because of the different play style. This kind of division allows you to play the game a little bit differently, and for a game that's been out around about 2 years and we've got over 50 divisions, a division that allows you to play a little bit differently is going to be fun. So because of the new scoring system, we redid the scoring for all the other divisions as well. 2nd New Zealand, 54 points. 3rd Guards Mechanised, 48 points. And Group Hartnick, 42 points. So let's see how Toulon fits in with all of the other divisions that we've done so far. Top of the list. 54 out of 80 as a score, joint top with 2nd New Zealand, but I've placed Toulon above 2nd New Zealand because I had more fun playing the division than I did playing the 2nd New Zealand. The win rate there is just for information, really. It's not supposed to mean too much. It's definitely not a flex. The win rate is definitely not representative of the performance of the deck or how good of a deck it is. It's more just there for a bit of information, really. We're going to leave things off at that. Make sure you stay tuned to the channel for my featured match for Toulon. Can't remember actually if I've got one or more than one featured match this time, but it's going to be coming up soon. And subscribe if you're not subscribed. Support me if you want to help me make videos as well. Thanks very much for watching. I am Alpha Bird. I will see you next time.